Hi everybody, it's Mark here. I thought I'd get started on my new series, deconstructing the court cards, and particularly in regards to the astrological decans and dates of the year in which each of them fall. So I thought I would start with this lady today, the Queen of Wands. You may know her more in this guise. Perfectly lovely, but I find this one a little more dazzling, a little more fiery, in terms of the coloration at least. So the reason I'm starting with the Queen of Wands is the Decan wheel, as we have it here, is like a wheel of the year, and she is 2/3 Aries and just the last bit of Pisces. So basically she's the first sign of the zodiac. She's springtime, and so I thought that's how I would do this series. I would follow the astrological wheel around the year as opposed to going by suit, because the Queen of Wands is actually followed by the Prince of Discs. So we won't be going Queen of Wands, Knight of Wands, etc., etc. We're going to just take a trip around the wheel. And that's one of the cool things about these decans, is there are a very specific 30 days associated with them. So you can actually see the energy of that court card, or the pip card that makes up the court card at that time of year, which I think is really interesting. And we'll get into more of that as we go along. So as I said, I won't be showing this very much because it's not that great a rendition, but if you can see, she's the last 10 degrees of Pisces and the first 2 degrees of Aries. And I will put a link in my notes where you can go and you can see a much better colorized wheel of decans online. The thing to remember is just that her first decan, as I say, falls in Pisces, and the dates for that, if this was your birthday you wanted to look up, is March 11th to March 20th. So that's the first 10 degrees of the Queen of Wands. The next 10 degrees is March 21st to March 30th, and that's the first chunk of Aries, the first 10 degrees of Aries. And then March 31st to April 10th is the last chunk of the Queen of Wands, also in Aries. So I think you can tell a little better the way I've got it set up here. So here's her Pisces bit, and then we see her Aries bits here. Broken down also by, as I say, the pip cards that are represented in each of these decans of hers. She's all in purple, everything purple, it has to do with her. But the Prince of Discs, as I mentioned, follows her, and I've just put him in green. This is not part of the Queen of Wands, but I've added it onto the little chart here because his first decan is Aries. So his is the missing piece of Aries that she encompasses. So that is saying something, that she doesn't have this one particular piece of the pie. It's gone to the next person. So we'll go into that a little more as we go along. So her astrological signs, like I said, are 1/3 Pisces, 2/3 Aries. And I don't want to get too much into the actual meanings of the astrological signs. I really want to keep it very tarot-centric, this little series. But I'd like to make note of one thing. Your astrological sign, your own particular astrological sign, is considered to be the antidote or correction, so to speak, to the previous sign to that. And then the sign that follows your sign is the antidote or correction to your sign. So what I mean by that is, let's say you are an Aries, like our Queen of Wands here. You're an Aries, and all of that Aries fire and leadership and drive and sticking up for yourself, that is excuse me, just gotta get the cat out of the way. That is a response to the Pisces part of the previous sign. In other words, Pisces is more go along to get along. They sometimes like to be a little more invisible, behind the scenes, lots of empathy and emotion. So basically the universe says, okay, now you've taken that too far. It's not working for you anymore. So then the next sign comes in, which is Aries, and it's all this fire and energy and self-importance in some cases, and not so much thinking about others, but thinking about themselves. Because they did enough of that in the Pisces sign, or enough of that energy was out there already. So that's what I mean. And then that Aries fire and quickness and assertiveness and tendency to just jump right in, that needs to be corrected. So then the next sign, of course, is Taurus, which slows things down, is more pragmatic, has more of a method than just jumping in. So you get the idea. I won't go into this every single time on every single court card, but just the idea being that the court card that's predominant, zodiac sign wise, can be thought of as a correction. Those 2/3 of that sign is a correction to the 1/3 of the sign. So I hope that makes sense to you. So if this Queen of Wands is a little bit Pisces and a lot more Aries, then we would be thinking that the Aries card here, which is the Emperor, would have a lot to do with this court card, this person. But the Pisces card is the Moon. So there would be some Moon energy in this person as well. And we can see the same cards here in the RWS. And that, to me, really indicates this is, the Moon is female energy. And then you bring in the Emperor, and as a combination, that's like lady boss, lady manager, lady in charge, female in charge. So that's how we can read the Queen of Wands just as a start when we look at the two majors that are associated with her court card. So right there you've got a lot to go off of. But then after that we want to take a further look at the actual decans that she has rulership over. So she rules over in the Aries portion the 2 of Wands and the 3 of Wands. And in her shadow, because it's in Pisces, the previous sign, we have the 10 of Cups. So let's take a look at that. In Thoth, here's our 2 of Wands that she has dominion over, literally. And they don't use a keyword in RWS, but you sort of get the idea with him holding this globe in his hand. But yeah, this just shows you the power of this queen, like just how strong she is. This is Mars, here's Mars here in Aries energy, and that's about as masculine, as much masculine energy as you can get in a card. Mars rules Aries. It's very impulsive, take charge, that type of thing. So we can see that in this female figure. She can be dominion. She can be dominating. And if this is a woman, in actual fact, this is that kind of woman that is attracted to strong men, can't really respect a wimpy guy, and yet doesn't want to be dominated by a man. So there's this kind of conundrum this person has to work out. If you know, if you have Turner Classic Movies, or if you know any of the very old movie stars, both Betty Davis and Joan Crawford has this as a birth date court card. And that was their kind of their relationship problem their whole life. Too dominating at times for the man in their life, but also didn't want to be dominated. So again, it was this tricky little thing they had to try and navigate. So that's a little off topic, but her other card, her other Aries card, is the Three of Wands, and here they've named it Virtue in the Thoth deck. That's the Sun in Aries for the astrological bit. And I like this. The Sun's considered to be exalted in Aries. In other words, that's its best placement, the best place it can be in all of the astrological signs. And so it can be at its best there. So this is Aries at its best, or that this is this queen at her best, where she really wants to, whether, you know, she is dominating or has her little dominion or place where she's large and in charge, she really wants the best. She really wants the best for everyone, and she's doing it from a good moral framework. The RWS looks quite a bit different. I'll keep doing that, sorry. Quite a bit different, but the idea is the same. I believe the Golden Dawn called this one Established Strength, and Crowley called this one Virtue, but they both have the same idea, kind of doing your best at something. And so what about her shadow, that Pisces card? Well, her shadow card is the Ten of Cups, which is a pretty nice card to be your shadow. Here it is in RWS. And how does that work as a shadow card? Well, I've seen Queen of Wands people, they really want it all. Like, they're just really not going to be happy until they've got everything that they feel they need to be happy. And so they may really go a bit over the top in that respect. Satiety is the word that they've been using here in the Thoth, that really just all your cups are filled, everything is, you know, working great, and there is no lack or emptiness in your life. And there might be a bit of idealism that drives them. And actually, going back to the Virtue card, this queen is the one most likely to be given the moniker of a virtue signaler. Someone who wants everybody to see just how wonderful she is, how thoughtful she is, how much she cares about everybody, and how much she's trying to do her best for everyone out there. Now, when the Thoth deck was created and they put the Virtue under her as a moniker, there was no such thing as virtue signaling, or certainly no term for it back then, but it fits really nicely now. So that's kind of in her shadow. Just, again, she has kind of a dream of everything being wonderful. This is like, you know, I call this the Real Housewives of ... card. You know, they've got to have the best house, the best husband, the best everything in life. And so taking as far, to the degree that the housewives take it, not that I've ever seen the show, but from the clips I've seen, they've gone too far. Hence, it's in her shadow area. Now, the card that she's missing, in other words, the Aries card that I said has moved into the Prince of Discs area, so she has no dominion, to use one of her words, over it, is the Four of Wands, as we see here. They call it completion in the Thoth deck. It's literally Venus in Aries. So the thing I notice about a lot of Queen of Wands people, and in particular Aries people, is they have a lot of get up and go and excitement in the beginning of a project or a relationship, but But completing it is another story. They're either going to lose interest or hand it off to somebody else to finish, and then they go get excited about something else. So again, she's missing this. She needs this in order to be a sort of a fully rounded person, but she's missing this piece. It goes to the Prince of Discs, who we'll be looking at next, and they are very much good at completing things. That's a real Taurus vibe, which we will get into, which is the Prince of Discs' main zodiac sign. So, and also this is sort of a wedding card in its own way. Here we have Mars attached to Venus, natural complements, natural partners. Again, she's missing this, and I would just go back to the fact that she just has trouble knowing where to stand within a relationship in terms of the male-female roles as we originally understood them. Now, of course, she could have a female partner. This could be a male. So you have to sort of just stretch your imagination and not worry about gender necessarily, and just sort of think of someone who needs to sort of be in charge and be dominant, but also needs to respect their partner for the same qualities. And that little conundrum, as I mentioned, is one of her issues. She's got this cheetah under control, and she's feeling good about that. So anyway, that's what I have to say about the first Queen of Wands. If you have any comments or questions, you can do that below, and I'll see you next time with the Prince of Discs. Bye for now.